Hey guys, welcome back. So today I have some reviews and demos on some of the new ECOTOOLS brushes and sponges they came out with. I picked up the majority of these products at Walmart and then like a couple of them at Ulta, but I'm really excited about some of these because they're really good. So first I'm going to start off with the Beauties sponges, and I will insert demos as I talk about the products. So the first set is this one here with these two sponges. It's the Perfecting Blending Duo. It says best with liquid and cream makeup, 2 unique sponges, use wet or dry. And this is the packaging that they all come in. Nice eco-friendly packaging. And it says that they're made with eco-foam technology. And it says basically they're 70% plant-based materials, latex-free, dermatologist tested, 100% vegan. So these are the sponges that it comes with. One is obviously bigger than the other one, and they have the same exact cut. So they have 2 cuts. They have this really long cut here that reminds me of the Real Techniques complexion sponge, and then it has a shorter cut there, and then it has a straight cut here at the top, and then the bottom is nice and rounded. So both of them have the same shape. I would say they're a little bit firmer than the Beauty Blender, but not as firm and dense as some other beauty complexion sponges on the market. So I find that the bigger one gets nice and squishy when it's damp. I actually soak it underwater quite a bit and then wring it out really, really well. And it does get pretty squishy and soft. I would say that the smaller one doesn't get as soft as I would like. It's a little bit more dense, so I actually prefer the bigger one over the smaller one. But I have used these several times. I really like this bigger one for blending out my foundation, and I also like it to put powder under my eyes to set my concealer, as well as blend out my concealer, because it comes to this, not like a point, but you know, you can use basically the edge here of it to kind of get into the inner corner, even though it doesn't come to a straight point like the Beauty Blender does. I find that if you can just hold it like this, then you pretty much get the same effect as the Beauty Blender. So I like it for blending out my foundation, my concealer, setting my under eye concealer with powder, and also to blend out a cream contour. I find that the bottom of it works really well and bounces really nicely to blend out my cream contours. So I like to use either the really long flat edge to pounce my foundation on my face, and if I need to diffuse it a little bit, then I use the rounded bottom side. So the smaller one is nice as well for blending out concealer. I just feel like it's a little bit more dense than I personally like, but it does blend out concealer nicely, and you can also set your under eye concealer with this as well. I wouldn't say I would use it for anything else, really. So these two I think are really nice. The one thing I will say though is I've washed it, I think about 3 times, and it's already getting little tears. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see them. There's about 3 or 4 of them. There's one here and then like a couple over here. I didn't find that with the smaller one, I think because it's a little bit more on the dense side, but I did find that to be the case with the bigger one. I feel like I have that issue with every sponge that I've ever used except the Beauty Blender. I don't know why. I've tried several different complexion sponges and they just tend to get little tears in them. And that's also happened with the Real Techniques one. So good thing these are affordable. I think they were around maybe $7 or $8 for the 2. So I think that's a really good deal. And if it does eventually rip, you know, I would just buy another one. And then they also came out with these. These are the Color Perfecting Minis. These are best with color correcting concealers, and I have not opened these, guys. I just think I'm gonna return them. I just wanted to mention them and show you guys them very quickly, but I just feel like I'm never gonna use these. I'm not really into these tiny little micro sponges. I just prefer to use like a bigger sponge to blend out my concealer. I feel like it's much faster than using this tiny little complexion sponge. So these I'm gonna take back to Walmart. These I think were like $7.98. So I just don't see myself using them. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take these back. But if you guys have tried them, let us know your thoughts down below in the comments. So next is this really big brush right here. It's called the Full Powder Brush. The Full Powder Brush is designed with a large, dense, incredibly soft head to evenly distribute and blend pressed powders for an everyday matte look. I like the new style of the brushes. Like, this is a lot lighter than it used to be. I just think they look really nice. And this is incredibly soft. Like when I use this, oh, I'm in love with this brush. I think it's totally amazing. So this brush reminds me a lot of my Sephora Pro Featherweight Powder brush. It's number 91. The Sephora one is much more substantial in weight, whereas the EcoTool one is pretty light, which is actually kind of nice when it's lightweight. I mean, it doesn't feel cheap or anything like that. It just feels like very light, and it's probably the material they use on the handle there, which I'm not sure if they still use bamboo, because I know they used to make bamboo. Renewable bamboo, yeah, so it must still be bamboo. So it's just very similar in shape to the Sephora one. I would say the Sephora one's probably a little bit bigger and a little bit more dense, honestly. But I love the Sephora brush, but it's almost $40, if not $40. I think it might be like $38. Whereas this one I think was around $8 again. And it's very similar. It's extremely, extremely soft. I would say it's a little less dense, but I actually like that because I feel like it really just dusts the powder on the face really nicely. It feels nice and smooth on the skin. I just really, really like this for applying my powder all over my face, or even dusting away powder under my eyes from setting my concealer. So this full powder brush is awesome. I love it. I highly recommend it. And that's what it looks like up close. It's kind of tapered on the edges. This one is awesome. All right, so next up is the Define and Highlight Duo, best with powders, bronzers, and highlighters for a natural contour. The Define and Highlight Duo is designed with 2 brushes to naturally sculpt and illuminate your favorite facial features. It comes with these 2 brushes here. First off is this one here that's like a smaller version of the full powder brush. And this one is really nice to set under eye concealer with powder. I really, really like it for that, as well as dusting away the powder because it's smaller than the powder brush, so it fits nicely under the eyes. This is also really nice to apply powder blush onto the cheeks. That's what I used it for. And it might also be good for like contouring. I did not specifically use it for that, but I think it would be good for that as well, just because it's a little bit tapered and it would probably blend it out nicely as well. So this one I really, really like. It also reminds me of my other Sephora brush that is the Pro Featherweight Complexion, and it's the number 90. So I would say the EcoTools on this one is a little bit bigger. Maybe the bristles also longer. But again, this is a super expensive brush. So if you were ever interested in these 2 Sephora brushes, I would say these are a great alternative to those because they're much, much more affordable. And then it also came with this fan brush. So this is really good for highlighting the face. That's what I've used it for. Just like this. Normally I'm not always a fan of fan brushes because I feel like with the really thin ones, I just feel like I don't like the way they apply my highlighter. Sometimes I feel like they just leave a stripe because they're so thin. But this one here is just like fluffier and wider. It's really, really soft. It's very flexible. It just blends out the highlight really, really nicely. So I like this fan brush. I think it's one of the better ones that I've tried. I do have the older version of the EcoTools fan brush. I'm not sure where it is. I have so many brushes, guys. It's ridiculous. I'm actually going to declutter some at some point, but I do recall it being kind of similar to this, maybe a little bit bigger, but I think it's pretty much similar to what it was before if you already own that. All right, next up is this brush right here. This is the Blending and Bronzing Best with Powder and Cream Bronzers for a Buildable Glow. The Blending and Bronzing brush is designed with a dual fiber bristles for buildable application to achieve an even sun-kissed glow. So I'm not always crazy about dual fiber brushes. I think a lot of time the bristles are really long. This particular one, I just really, really love the shape of it. So the bristles are shorter and it's nice and rounded. So this brush is just amazing for powder bronzer. I used it for powder bronzer and it just really diffuses the bronzer so nicely onto the skin. I really, really like this brush. It's extremely soft. It's not too dense where it's gonna pack on too much powder, but it just blends out everything so well. But you can also use it to apply powder to your face or even diffuse like your powder, your blush, and your highlighter when you want to mix them, kind of blend them all evenly. So I think this brush is awesome. I absolutely love that. All right, and the last brush that I have is the Precision Brush, best with powder and cream blushes for a precise color application. So this brush is actually my least favorite of all the brushes that I showed you guys. This one I've tried several different ways. I know it says it's intended for cream and powder blushes, which I didn't care for it too much with a powder blush. I just felt like it put way too much pigment onto my skin and it was a little harder to blend than something fluffy. I like something that's more fluffy when it comes to a blush brush. So this one I prefer over this one for blush, for sure. I just think it's a lot less dense and it's more fluffy. The bristles are longer. It just really diffuses the blush nicely, where this just packs on too much color. So I personally don't like it for powder blush. I think it would work nice for cream blush, but I honestly didn't use it that way. And I'm sorry I didn't like insert a clip for you guys and try it out that way, but I think it would work best for cream blush. So I also tried this brush with liquid foundation, which I thought it was okay. It wasn't the best or my favorite brush for blending out liquid foundation, but it wasn't bad. And I've also tried it with a stick contour and a cream bronzer contour. So I didn't like it with the stick contour just because I prefer like a damp beauty blender for blending out a stick, just because a stick contour can be a little bit more on the dry side and I feel like it can lift foundation, which it did with this brush. So I just prefer it with a damp beauty blender. I just feel like it pounces and blends out the product better. I also tried it with the cream bronzer, and as you will see in the demo, it looks very muddy. And I think it's because I had used this for the liquid foundation first, and then I went in with the like bronzers, and I think it just meshed, the bronzer meshed with the liquid that was in the brush, whatever it was left over, and it just made it very, very muddy. But other than that, it blended out the cream bronzer well. I think it would work well for liquid bronzer and cream blushes, but I did not try those two, so do apologize about that. But overall, this is just my least favorite brush. I just don't see myself using this as often as all the rest. Like the other ones I could use in my everyday routine. So that pretty much wraps up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any of these brushes or sponges, let us know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I love you guys. Have an amazing day.